y'all, this is Marley K. Hope y'all are well. I want to have a conversation today, specifically for the brothers. And I want to have this conversation because I'm a mother of sons. I have a father who drives on the road. He's a long haul truck driver. I have a brother. I'm surrounded by black men. In fact, as family and as friends. And so I tend to have a totally different perspective about men sometimes. Sometimes I chastise y'all for, different things. But this is not one of those conversations. It may be a little bit of chastisement, but I don't think that this is anything that you can control. But the thing that you can control, which is your behavior and your movements in Babylon as Babylon falls, is what I want to focus on today. And the reason I want to have this conversation is because last week I had an incident with my son. This is one reason why I haven't really made a whole lot of videos, is because I was kind of under duress and stress, had some unexpected things happen. And it just made me think. I'm a very intentional person. I don't take people for granted. Um, I don't trust people easily. I believe in, looking at fruit. And I also, I have empathy for people, even, some of the people who are deemed the worst in society, people who do bad things. I tend to have this ability to take myself out of a situation and go back to the beginning. How did this person become this way? And I'll do it with anybody, but I especially do it with my own people because I know we are a people of struggle. We come from a lot of different things, and those things are rooted in our oppression and our abuse as we live in this domestic violence situation, in our captivity because of our disobedience and the disobedience of our ancestors. So, understanding that and all the trauma and abuse and all the things that come along with that, and it impacts your behavior. And so one of the things that happened last week was, my son, he's awakened, but he's also chosen, but he keeps running from that calling, and he continues to put himself in bad situations. And like any good mama, good old country Southern mama, I'm constantly on him because he's like the um, hard-headed child of the family, just constantly in stuff, unnecessary stuff. I had a conversation with him a couple of weeks ago, and I was just, explaining, hey, I'm getting older, and it's time out for all this nonsense, all this unnecessary stress and strife, because you make poor decisions or impulsive decisions or emotional decisions, or just decisions because you're trying to be a good person but not necessarily extending the courtesy to the appropriate people. And so you end up getting yourself into binds that you didn't have to be in because you extended graces to someone who didn't necessarily deserve it. And so last week, my son found himself in a situation that I had warned him about for pretty much all year long. And it was about the shifting in the Gentile men in Babylon, and how egregiously disrespectful and abusive they have become. And they're moving in gangs. I guess that's the best way to say it. And, the biggest gang is the gang in blue. I don't have to tell y'all who that gang in blue is if you're a black man or a black male. And my son has had numerous run-ins with police, and not always because he's done something, just because he's a black man in American profile. And, as a mother and as a woman, we're often not privy to the dehumanizing um, events that black men experience. And I was listening to TBA, which is the Black Authority, uh, a few weeks ago. Maybe it was maybe 2 months ago. And he was talking about, the experiences of being a black man in America, driving all over the country, and how, at any time the police can pull you over, throw you on the ground, throw you up against the car, just do all types of illegal stuff to you. And you just out there at the mercy of this brutal monster, sometimes alone, sometimes it's a gang of them. And it's kind of, I hate to say it's a rite of passage. It's a rite of passage of being a black man in America. It's not a good rite of passage. It's just part of life here as a black male. I'm sure almost every black man probably has at least one experience, if not more, uh, of these types of incidents. But, what I'm learning is I'm not always, as mothers and sisters and women, we're not always privy to the dehumanization and the profiling and the overt attempts to get black men to get out of pocket so that they'll have a reason. When I say they, I mean the gang in blue, or people who lord over us, our overseers. So they'll have a reason to beat, maim, or kill, or sexually abuse, or whatever inhumane, demonic, monstrous thing that they want to do to our men, because they just hate them. And they hate them because they ain't them. They hate them because they don't have that thing that our men have in them that causes the rest of the world to see them in a different light, because they are chosen. And they don't know why they don't like our men. They don't like our men because they're chosen, but they cannot understand it. They can't put it into words. All they can do is say to themselves and to their gang, we need to snuff out this light. We need to do whatever it is to some innocent person they don't even know, because we don't know why, just because something about them is different and we need to stop it. And so, I'm learning that black women and black men experience life different in Babylon. We have experienced life different. And having sons, have tell me about these different experiences is very eye-opening. And if you're a mother, you have any empathy, it just makes you sick to your stomach that you have to send your children out into this world where you have beasts that could just do anything to them, and they're protected by the law. There is no justice for our men. And how many men, if you don't speak up for yourself, or you don't have some knowledge of the law, some semblance of intelligence, some knowledge, some wisdom, and sometimes some connections, how life could just be so different for you. And last week, my son chose to drive to Georgia to pick up someone who needed a ride from the bus station. Now, why they had to go to Georgia and not come to South Carolina, I don't know. I just have no clue. But anyway, he made a decision. Driving in a place he's never been at night with an out of town tag on his car to one of the last counties in the state of Georgia that ended Jim Crow segregation laws. Now, I knew about this area because I once worked in this area. And it was years ago, but I didn't know anything about this area before I started working there. But after I started working there, and because of the nature of my work, I ended up having to work a lot with law enforcement and prosecution, or the district attorney's office, state police, college campus police, so on and so forth. And that is how I learned. I got my lesson about the levels of policing and dealing with the devils you know versus the devils that you do not know. And I thought our police was rough. But them police over there, now I don't know if it's just because, black people, we have such bad experiences with police, period, that, all these racist gangs in blue may be the same, especially across the South. But I don't know, it just seems like the Carolina boys in blue ain't nothing like the Alabama boys in blue or the Georgia boys in blue. I can't explain it, but as a black person, it just seems like when you go to another place, ooh, no, you don't want to deal with the police in that place because they bad. They worse than our police. I can say we don't have our police don't. I don't know because it may just depend on the person and the interaction, but it just seems like some places have like the most atrocious behavior policing. Um, Police that you could come across. And so my son ended up having that type of encounter last week. And I spent like 4 days trying to get him out of this mess because he ended up being stopped. He was profiled. And then the police were trying to railroad him, basically to get him to take a submit to a blood test to see was under the influence, and my son refused. So he requested a breathalyzer because he was like, I knew I wasn't drinking, um so I wanted a breathalyzer, but they immediately want to take me someplace to have blood drawn. He's like, I wasn't giving them my blood. I don't know what they're going to do with my blood. We have this conversation, have had it regularly, about the types of tricks that the gang in blue will do to our people. So he knew not to do that thing. And I was like, good. But because he blew under the state limit, they couldn't get him for DUI. But they charged him with DUI anyway. And they locked him up because he was from out of state. The whole thing was just a mess. But you could tell he was profiled because he was stopped that night. Then it was like 4 or 5 other officers showed up on the scene, and he was like, it was not the best situation to be in, and I could tell if I did anything wrong, I could lose my life. I knew I was in that type of town. And so he ended up going to jail, and he called me. And like any good black mama who got any good sense, I was going off on the phone in black mama style, all the bad words and everything, because I'm a work in progress. But because, I had been talking to him just about his movements, I was like, at nighttime, you need to be at home. Stay out of the street. Stop doing stuff. Stop always having to move. Be concerned about your family and your children. If you leave your house not protected to go see about some other grown person who's, not handling their business the way that they're supposed to, friend or not, you always got to think about yourself. Will these people come to see about you? And of course, when you get locked up and you move, you find out who your friends are. Ain't nobody coming to help you move. Ain't nobody coming to help you pack. And ain't nobody got no money to come get you out of jail. They ain't putting up no property. They ain't got no money. That's just a fact. You want to find out what kind of friends you got, move or go to jail. That will show you. Now, I'm not suggesting that anybody goes to jail, but I'm just using that as an example. You want to test your friends, call them and tell them you in jail, you need some money. See what kind of friends you got. Anywho, So he called, and the other thing about this, it happened at night. So when he called me, it was like 11 o'clock, and just so happened I was sitting up outside looking at the stars and the moon. And so this number came up on my phone, and I usually don't answer the phone when there are numbers that I don't know. So I answered the phone, and it was him. And he was telling me, I'm in jail. What? Why? Where? In Georgia? In Monroe, Georgia? Oh my God. What in the hell are you doing over there? And so I, I was just going off. And then I started asking questions about, like, so what do you have to do to get out? And I knew I wasn't going to be able to do anything that night, but just the fact that I knew where he was, and he was trying to explain to me what happened, and they were gracious enough to let him make a couple of phone calls before they fingerprinted him and stuff, trying to get him situated. But I was going through an emotional roller coaster. I was like, stressed because that's my child. And you see so many of these stories where your child goes to prison. The next thing you know, they dead. Next thing you know, they are beat up and in the hospital, and you don't know what happened, and you just feel away. So I went through that. I was angry because he was disobedient and not listening to me, even though he's an adult. I warned him about moving because the Gentile men right now are in civil war mode. It is a silent civil war, but they are attacking our men. They're attacking everybody, not just the men, the women, the children. Everybody's under attack. But in particular, men are always the number one target. And driving in a car, driving while black, you are a target. And so I had to go and figure out how I was going to get his car. They didn't tow his car because he wasn't intoxicated. So just a lot of things just started not adding up. You couldn't get a charge. They wouldn't um, let him go before a magistrate judge. And I was like, how is it that you could be locked up for this many days and not see a judge? He went to jail on a Thursday, didn't get before a judge on a Friday, sat in jail all weekend. And what they wanted was us to pay this money. They wanted us to pay a couple $1,000s because he was from out of state. And then they would let him go. Of course, you're not getting your money back. And then if this charge was false, they would just drop it. But by then, you will have given that county, $2,000 that they didn't earn. So because we know the game, I was like, well, we ain't doing that, son. You're just going to have to sit there. One, because you were disobedient. But two, you already know what this is. This is a tactic to use black people to keep the government going. They're using you by profiling you, finding some reason to keep you locked up, knowing that your family members somebody going to try to come up with some money to get you out. And then you pay this money, you never get it back, the charges are dropped, you're cleared, the government made money, the gang in blue gets to continue doing what they're doing. And it's just a big old hustle. And they do this all over America. So it's not like this is just an incident. But, I wrote about this years ago on Medium about how black people keep this whole system going because everything is focused on us. Even though if it's not for us directly, well, except for the criminal justice system, that whole system is set up off of the overseer, slave patrol, um, system that they had set up during slavery. When slaves were trying to escape, and they had people uh, catch the slaves and return them to the property owners, and they would get paid for it. So that's where policing came from. And so modern policing is an extension of overseeing and slave patrolling. So this cash bond system is the same thing. And, brothers, y'all need to be really careful how y'all move. You need to stay out of these little towns. when you drive, y'all need to be like we used to have to do in the old days. Think about sundown towns. When the sun go down, you need to be where you're supposed to be, or at least be on a main highway. You really need to understand the law, because even if it doesn't work for us per se, when you can quote it to somebody and tell them that they're wrong and you understand the law, they respect you more. Um, my son had a command of the law because we've always been adamant. My ex-husband and I were adamant about teaching our sons about law, what you can and what you cannot do, being aware of where you are, understanding the laws from state to state, but also just knowing your constitutional rights, understanding, you know, what the police can and cannot do to you. And so that was very helpful for him, but also for me because I had a firm grasp of Georgia law, and because I know what you're supposed to do. One thing I know about working for the government, I know what office to call for everything. So, um, after Monday, he didn't have a court date and he sat in the jail all weekend. I was like, this is crazy. I never heard of nothing like this. And then they were saying that he was going to have to sit in jail till November. I was like, he didn't kill nobody. This is supposed to be for DUI. I said, no, this is some fraganackle bull. So I said, I'm going to call the public defender's office because he's entitled to legal representation. And if he has not seen an attorney and they have not requested one for him, he hasn't requested one for himself, that's not right. And so once I did that, I got the ball rolling. Within an hour, he was released from jail. So I had to drive over because I went to go pick up his car last week. So he didn't have transportation. And when I went to get his car, they released all of his property to me. So he didn't have car, he didn't have keys, he didn't have phone, he didn't have money, he didn't have anything. They were like, well, we can't just give you the keys and seal the property back up. We have to give you everything. So I had to arrange for him to have transportation from the jail to someplace so he could sit tight. And then I made sure I ordered food for him so he could have something to eat till I got there because it was going to take like 2 hours. But I'm saying all this to say, brothers, y'all need to be moving with intention in Babylon. You don't need to be doing anything that is going to put your family at risk. You don't need to be doing anything that's going to make your mama stress and your daddy worry, and your grandparents for that matter. If you have been in a lot of trouble in the past and you have a criminal record, a criminal background, I'm not judging you, but you need to move differently because anything that Babylon can do to incarcerate or harm our people right now, they are going to do it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I was definitely scared for my son this past weekend. I was like, I just, I could barely rest because so many stories are happening about these young men going to jail and not coming back out. Not only that, but then our own people perp on each other when they're in jail. It's like the jail system creates some type of monsters or people just turn into predators. So anytime a family member has to go to jail, it's stressful for everyone, not just the person that's incarcerated, but the family members that are outside who are having to figure out how we're going to bail this person out, how we're going to get to them. Like, it's just really stressful. But a lot of times it can be avoided by just being obedient and moving properly. Now, you're never going to stop the gang of blue from profiling you. You can be doing nothing and just driving while black and be profiled. You could be walking in the store and be profiled. You can be at work and be profiled and harassed by Gentiles. But when I went to go pick up the car And driving into that county, I cannot tell you how many black people I saw pulled over. Every police officer I saw, police officers, sheriff, highway patrol, they were white. Every person I saw pulled over, black. Or they had an out of state tag. So that's how I know people were being profiled. I'm not gonna call this county because I don't want no smoke. I got enough problems with Gentiles and heathens. But when I went back to pick my son up yesterday after he was released, same thing. Police everywhere. The town is not big as anything. They got the biggest jail. They have the nicest police cars. All they do is sit up on these roads and look for out of state tags and black men to pull over and harass. And I was like, this is insane. This is a whole entire industry propped up by predatory profiling. And it's only going to get worse because Babylon is falling. There is no money. So whatever crumbs that you have, they must take them from you to sustain themselves because that's how the Gentiles work. They are like leeches. They don't have anything. They don't possess anything. They don't make anything. Everything they get it comes from someone else. You know, whether it's just always zero sum. In order for them to have, they got to take from somebody else. That's just how it is. Even with resources, they got to go to other continents to get other people's resources so that they can sustain themselves. So you need to understand right now what's going on is the Gang of Blue are in pre-Civil War mode. They are profiling brothers. They are locking them up. They are keeping them there. They are violating their rights. And there's little we can do about it. So the best thing you can do is stay out of these systems, understand where you are, understand the times that we're living in. When you're riding, ride clean. If you smoke, don't smoke in your car. If you drink, don't drink and drive. Don't ride people who drinking alcohol in your car. All black men, if you are decent and looking out for one another, if you say you are your brother's keeper, these are the times where you gotta hold each other accountable. Don't let your brothers be riding around dirty in a car so y'all can get caught up and somebody gets in trouble. Everybody needs their driver's license. Everybody needs their vehicles. Don't nobody have no money for extra towing, um, to get your car from being impounded, to pay for court costs or bailing out. Like nobody has that, accepting phone calls for 15, 20 cents a minute to talk to you for 3 minutes. Like people don't have, life is stressful enough. We don't need that. Be responsible, be respectful, hold one another accountable. Don't put yourself in positions where you give these folks who are looking for reasons to incarcerate you, to beat you, to push you around, because at the end of the day, we know they are wimps. The reason that they do that because they need that type of power. They are powerless. They are energy vampires. We are light, they are darkness. The gang in blue are nothing but a bunch of cowards, which is why they hide behind those badges and those uniforms. They have no power. They're power because they are a gang. They have power because the system gives them that power and doesn't hold them accountable. So what we have to do is monitor our behavior. We cannot move recklessly now because your family is relying on you. Don't put your wives and girlfriends and your children and your baby mamas in these bad situations because you want to go have a good time, because you just want to hang around and ride at night like it's business as usual. You should be at home. Everybody should be at home. Don't give them any reason to stop you. There are going to be some times where you're just going to be stopped because you have to go through these places. But when you do, be on your best behavior. When you do, understand the law so that you can recite the law to them and your rights. Make sure you have somebody that you can call in the event that you get locked up and you have money to get out of jail. There's nothing worse than not expecting to go to jail and then not having a way to get out, especially if it's a trumped up charge. You don't want to be sitting in jail because you don't have money. Now, you might have to sit there because these folks run a game, which is what happened to my son. They didn't turn over the ticket to the public defender's office. They didn't do anything that they were supposed to do. They actually put his ticket in his items that were going to be released to him. He did not have his paperwork on him. Just a lot of a lot of things that were done improperly, which is why he had to be released immediately. But had we not had the wherewithal to follow up, he could have sat there till November. They literally were not going to do anything to help him. And he said everybody in the jail kept telling him he should have been gone. He should have been gone. But they just would not let him go. And even when I went to go and take possession of his car and get the keys or whatever, the correctional officers in the jail made sure to let me know I was on their time. I had a really nice black woman at the window helping me, and she was like, um, you need to do A, B, C, D. And while she was talking to me, the correctional officers came in to have the paperwork signed, and they were like, "Oh, you can have a seat. It's going to be a while. We got a situation going on in the back." But I could just tell by the way that they came in and their energy, like they were on some BS. So I was like, I already know what time it is because I already know where I am. And the Holy Spirit had given me the discernment before I even got there. I already know I was going to have the patience of Job and the attitude of an angel in a golden diaper to get through this process. So I had to sit down and wait for like 45 minutes for no reason. But it would be different if I didn't know where I lived. It would be different if I didn't live in the South, if I hadn't been taught by my dad and hadn't had all the experiences with the Gentiles in Babylon that I had, and the men in particular. I would have been taken aback. But I wasn't surprised because this is what they do. And I expect them to only get worse as things progress and the system falls because this is their system. It ain't our system. It's not Yah's system. This is their demonic, evil, wicked system. And so as it falls and fails, they're going to go all out to try to do stuff to hurt y'all black men and our black boys because they know y'all are our hope and our future. Y'all are our warriors. If they can keep you in fear, if they can knock as many of y'all off as they can, if they can keep y'all locked up, guess what? That's fewer of y'all out here fighting them when it's time to get up. When we have our supernatural glow up that the Most High is going to do like he did in the Bible all these other times. He took away our power so that we would be defeated and go into captivity. But when he got ready to bless us so we can glow up and get out of captivity, baby, it was on and popping. And we getting ready to get our superpowers back. I'm going to just tell you like it is. We're going to have our superpowers. Brothers, y'all need to be ready. So y'all need to be getting yourselves together. That means getting detoxed, getting cleaned up, getting cleaned out. It means cleaning up your life. It means obeying those laws, statutes, and commandments. It means checking out of Babylon and stop believing in these systems. Stop engaging in her distractions called escapism. The movies and politics and sports, all these things that you do, porn, all the things that waste time and energy and don't do anything to build or restore. It only tears down. It's time to stop all those things, because we are getting ready to go into a period where we're going to need a warrior class of brothers who are on it, who are prepared mentally, emotionally, and physically to fight. And that is the one thing that I don't see enough of. Even with my son, I fussed at him because when I went to pick him up yesterday, I was like, look at you. I didn't raise you to go out of the house like this. I said, you out here with these shoes on. You can't fight nobody with them shoes on. You out here dressed inappropriately. Like, you just not looking ready. And the one thing I like about the Black Authority is, like, he talks about being prepared for wherever it is that you go. When it's time to take care of business, you need to wear your business clothes. When you're out in the street, any other time, you need to be ready. You need to have your boomsticks and your Snicker bars, your power tools. You need to be dressed, prepared to flee or fight, because you just don't know what is coming to us. You don't know if you're going to be in a store and somebody decides to come in and start shooting. You don't know if you're going to have to fight, racist police officers. You don't know what you're going to have to do to get somebody off of you. But you need to be ready. And I'm not talking about you fighting your brothers or your sisters. I'm talking about fighting these heathens and Gentiles who are trying to do y'all in when they get the opportunity to. And I'm not saying that, you all look like you are easy prey, but I'm just saying, if they think or smell an opportunity to do something to a brother, they're going to take it. And so what we have to do is just be ready at all times for whatever they throw at us. And so moving recklessly in Babylon should not even be a thing anymore. And I just want to talk about that because, with my son, I have been warning him all year, but really over the last couple of weeks, just about staying out of the streets, not giving the police any reason to stop you, give you a ticket or whatever, because, money is in short supply. Inflation is tearing everybody up. And we just don't know. There's so much uncertainty. But one thing that we do know is Babylon is going to do whatever it can and needs to do in order to save itself. And if that means it's going to happen at our expense, it will. And so for Black men, you need to be careful. Not only careful, you need to be hipping other brothers to what time it is. And I'm not saying that they will listen, but at least there won't be any blood on your hands. We know there are going to be a lot of casualties of our people because they just don't listen. But what we can do is work to try to warn and teach and educate as many of our brothers and sisters as we can, because a lot of people grew up in this civil rights era where they didn't know about the Jim Crow type gang of blue. They never had those types of interactions, but they're going to experience them, and they will explode exponentially when this financial system collapses. Because the first thing they're going to do, when I say they, I'm talking about the gang of blue Gentiles, they're going to start communicating with each other. And the first thing they're going to say is, y'all brothers are a threat. So they're going to gang up on y'all. Any one of y'all they see, they're immediately going to be fearful. They're not going to be fearful of y'all because you did something to them. They're going to be fearful of y'all because of who they are and what they do to you. They're always thinking about retribution. And that's always in the back of their minds. What's going to happen if something happens and they see me. They're gonna try to do something to me. So I gotta always be trying to do something to them first, because I know what we did to them and they should be angry. If it was them, they would do to us what we will not do to them, because y'all didn't build us like that. Or I take that back. Y'all did make us to protect ourselves, but they beat that out of us and they imparted into us this submissive, apologetic, peaceful Negro that we see today, that don't like no weapons and they don't want to do nothing to protect themselves but pray. The Lord says, sell your coat and get you a sword. He didn't say that for his health. He knew that you would have enemies and he knew that you needed to be a warrior class. So these people have, misinterpreted the Bible. They have written laws that benefit them and harm us. They've kept us from being able to protect ourselves. And as this judgment is unleashed and the wrath of the Most High takes effect, they're going to get theirs. But until they do, we have to be wise as serpents. Menfolk, y'all need to be on guard 24/7. Don't be around here riding dirty. And I don't care what kind of good time you have. Smoke, stop someplace and smoke. Smoke outside the car. Don't be riding. And so when you do get stopped because you were profiled, you roll down the window, the car smell like weed. I had to get in my son's car and it smelled like weed. I ain't never smoked weed a day in my life. I don't like how it smells. I'm not going to try none. I don't want it. I don't need it. But if I was somebody who was doing an investigation, that would be something that I would suspect because I could smell it in the car. Once it gets into your seats and everything, if you're a habitual smoker, you may not be able to smell it. But for someone who doesn't smoke, because their job requires them to remain sober or because of some drug clause or whatever, and they don't use, they can smell it. So police are trained to smell for those types of things, and that, it's part of their investigative training. So, when you do stuff like that, that's foolish to me. You don't have to ride in your car and smoke if you know it's, I'm not gonna say it's illegal, but if you know driving under the influence or with influence is against the law, then why do it? Especially if you're black and you know it's not gonna work out in your favor. Stop doing that. Go get your car cleaned out, air that thing out, and try to live right. You don't have to do that. If you're gonna smoke outside your car. If you're gonna drink, don't drink and drive. If you're going to, um, you know, go out at night, let people know where you're going. Most importantly, check your friend circle. Don't be fooling up with people who are not going to stand up for you or help you when you get into a situation where you come in contact with corrupt police. My son had a situation where he couldn't get anybody to come and help him get his car. He could not help. He couldn't get anybody to figure out how to get him out. No, nobody. Most of the people that he hangs around with didn't have anything to contribute or add value to his life. So he's the one that is relied upon, but he doesn't have anybody to rely on. And so that burden fell on me, mom. I don't live my life like that. But if I did get into a situation, I have friends and family that I can call on to help me. Don't be so raggedy in life that nobody don't want to help you. Because that was another situation with my son. If you have been following me any significant amount of time, and I've talked about the challenges with this son, people have helped him to the point where they don't want to help him anymore. Don't be so raggedy and you never work on rebuilding the bridges to repair relationships, that when you get into a situation that's dire, nobody wants to come to your aid because you've doodled up all the opportunities so many times, and people have helped you so many times that they don't even see the value in helping you because they feel like you're going to just piss it away. When life is like that, you don't have nobody but your mama. And when your mama tired of you, you don't have anybody. So some of y'all out here living recklessly, and you don't put your mama and your parents through so much stuff. Nobody wants to help you. So when you really do get into a situation where you really are innocent and you were profiled, people are just gonna look at you like you're crazy because they're like, you always say that, you're always in something. So this is why it's really important for our people, especially our young men, to move with intent and not be reckless while we're in Babylon and Babylon is falling. So I just wanted to put that out there, that there is a lot of gang in blue activities going on, and it really feels slave patrolish. They're using us to keep this old raggedy system afloat. And so coming out of this system, coming out of Babylon means you are going to control your behavior in such a way that that this system is not able to benefit from us being in a system. Whether it's jail, whether it's prison, welfare, any way they can exploit us, they will. So we have to be conscious of the fact that this whole system is built on the backs of us, whether it's we built it or whether every system is designed to circle back and be prey on Black people. We got to do a better job of understanding that and try to stay out of these systems. So when it comes to coming in contact with the gang in blue, the more you do, the more proactive you are, the more conscious you are about your movement, the better it is for us, the safer it is for us and your family, and the worse off Babylon will be, because if Babylon don't have nobody in her jails, you can't justify having all these racist boys in blue patrolling in their nice new fancy police cars. You can't justify all these jails. You can't justify this stuff. But if we keep doing stupid stuff and thinking, oh, it is not going to happen to me, then it happens to you. You really have to look at yourself. And so at some point, we have to hold ourselves accountable. And this is one of those times where I'm talking about not only being safe, but we also have to hold ourselves accountable. Some of this stuff is preventable. And so let us work as much as we can to try to prevent being profiled, being caught up in these systems, going to places unnecessarily where we're going to come in contact with these racist gangs. And I think another component of this that we don't talk about enough is this interracial dating. A lot of this animosity towards Black men, it has to do with interracial dating. White women are going with Black men for whatever reason. It's because it's new, it's different, because they don't like white men no more, because they so cruel, because having a Black man is like a fashion status symbol. Whatever the reason, white men are angry about that because their numbers are decreasing, and they know that they need Black blood to stay alive. They know this. And so there's this animosity towards you for that as well. And in a lot of these small towns, a lot of these little white girls going with these Black boys, and they out walking around proud. Well, they may not do anything to the couple that they see, but they may take it out on an innocent black man who's just driving his car, going on about his business. So, I don't necessarily want to have that conversation in this particular video, but there are a lot of reasons that we are being profiled. And I think we need to take inventory to see how that harms us. As long as we're here in Babylon, we got to be proactive and look at ways of protecting ourselves. And I don't think we do that enough when it comes to all of the baggage that we have that put us in that the things that are putting us into this position. So, anywho, be careful how you move in Babylon, because Babylon is falling, is going to fall and be utterly destroyed, desolate in 1 hour. But until that 1 hour comes, we got to keep watching, stay ready. And we also have to beware of the Gentiles, the gangs in blue, and all these laws that they are putting in place to do harm to our people. All right, this is Marla K. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Y'all be careful out here, brothers. I love y'all. I know we are an imperfect people, and some of us, live and try to do the right thing, but it doesn't matter if you're good. It doesn't matter if you're bad. It doesn't matter if you're perfect and do everything right. It doesn't matter if you do things wrong sometime. It does not matter in Babylon. All that matters to them is that there is a black man somewhere trying to be free and exercise some privilege or some right, and they turn into the police and do what they can to stop you. So this is not a matter of what you do or how you do it. It's just a matter of you the wrong color and you have no protections. So you got to protect yourself. And sometimes that just means avoiding any type of interactions that you can with the system so that you can live another day, and so that your mama don't have to be worried half to death about what's going on with you. All right, y'all, this is Marley K. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification so that you will be notified any and every time that I upload new content. Consider following me on Rumble and Odyssey in the event that my channel is taken down. They are doing a lot of suspending of channels, and my channel has one suspension already, so the next one will be for 2 weeks. So if you follow me on Odyssey and Rumble, you'll be able to catch me when that day comes and I'm put on the poo-poo list. I'm also on social media. Links are in the description. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Don't post there regularly, but if I am booted off the platform, I will inform you there. Lastly, if you would like to support the channel, links are in the description. This is a labor of love. We do not get paid, and we do not have any affiliates or any commercials that we run on this channel. It's just little old me, old country auntie. That's it. So if you feel led to support the channel, I greatly appreciate it. And if you have supported in the past, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Finally, continue praying, keeping watch, repenting for your sins of commission and sins of omission, and obeying those laws, statutes, and commandments, because without those, and keeping the Sabbath, because without that, our people are just still walking around in the wilderness, lost. When you know better, you do better. And so in order for us to get back into good standing with the Most High, those of us who are awakened and those of us who are awakening need to begin to obey our laws, our statutes, and our commandments for our people. Right now, we are obeying Babylon's laws, statutes, and commandments, and those do not work for us. They only work for Babylonians because they made them for them. They didn't make them for us. So understand that there are two sets of laws that we have to obey, and the ones that we've been obeying are not ours. So let's get back to the basics, get back to the law, statutes, and commandments of our ancestors, keeping the Sabbath, keeping it holy, and treating our brothers and sisters with the love and respect that the Most High um, wants us to, because we're not heathens. We're not darkness. We're light, and we're made in the image of the Most High, not in the image of these Babylonians. So that's all I got, y'all. Brothers, be safe. For all y'all mamas who are out here worrying about your sons, or you don't have a clue about what your sons go through, how many encounters they've had with police and some of the incidents, you need to ask them about what happens to them during those stops. And what was the worst thing that happens? You'd be surprised. The things that happen to black men don't happen to black women, and we need to talk about it more often. So if you have any comments or stories that you'd like to share, especially recent ones, please feel free to leave them in the comment section, because what I saw over the last 4 days is frightening. And I know it's only going to get worse. So I love y'all. Y'all be safe. And my heart goes out to all the black men who have to drive around and be concerned about getting stopped by police. It's just a burden, and it's so unfortunate. But I believe in justice, and I believe the Most High is going to exact justice for us. Until then, we just need to be wise as serpents and stay out of these streets. All right, this is Marley K. Love y'all, and I'm out.